Hello, everybody. It's my privilege to introduce to you, all the way from the south side of Chicago, the man, the myth, the legend, my Theo, your brother, the South Side Unicorn.
And what they're proposing, Romney wants to he said in the first 100 days, he's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
Hey, it's your boy Ken White, host of the Southside Unicorn Show, and we have had a cavalcade of guests on the show lately. As you know, I normally don't have guests on the show. I just do my thing and spit some stuff in your ear, and you go, okay, thank you for putting us on speed. You helped us see an issue from an angle that we otherwise would not see. That's what I love to do. But we're in an interesting time right now, ladies and gentlemen. There are some very powerful people. That's the word I want to use. There's some very powerful people, powerful personalities, and they're all rising to the forefront in the wake of the mighty President Donald J. Trump, President 45, and now President 47. Leadership seems to do that. It can inspire people to say, hey, how can I help? Where do I belong? What can I do to help make a difference and or make America great again? The gentleman you see in front of me with the LA hat on, I don't know if that's LA Dodgers or he's just trying to show some love for LA, but the gentleman in front of me, his name is Vim Miller. Now, some of you are going to go, where have I heard that name before? He sounds familiar. That's because Vim Miller has done an awful lot of stuff and he's experienced an awful lot of stuff. Before the day's show is done, I guarantee you're going to go, oh, that's who Vim Miller is. So sit down, get your drink, prepare to take a ride with us because we're going to have a nice chat with Mr. Vim Miller. Mr. Vim Miller identifies, and that's basically, everyone does that sometimes. His identification is he and him. As you know, yours truly identifies as me, myself, and I. Vim Miller is a graduate of UCLA. He is the co-founder of the America Happens Network, which I can't wait to ask him about that. That's a heck of a name for a show. America Happens. That's right. Sort of like this happens, but a little bit better. He's had 20 years of experience as an investigative journalist. He's a documentary filmmaker, and he's even stuck his toe into the political ocean, the eternal sea, as The Omen, if you remember the movie The Omen, they called it the eternal sea. From the eternal sea, he rises. Remember that? So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, my man, Mr. Vim Miller. Vim, thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure. How you doing, sir?
Man, I'm hot. I'm hot. California is not treating the brother real nice right now. Last 2 days was 100 degrees. Last year, it was 100 degrees for over 110 days. Imagine that.
Wow.
So yeah, that's other than that, I'm good. How about you? I mean, you're out there in Las Vegas,
Good.
right?
Yeah, I spend my time between Vegas and DC now. And then a little bit of California too, with the California governor's race. We've been doing some work out there as well.
Mm-hmm. So what's got you in Washington D.C.? You don't have an attaché in your hands and a what do you call it, trench coat, do you?
No, we do, for our media work, we've been definitely had one foot in DC since the inauguration, just because there's so much stuff happening on a daily level there. It's actually really kind of a fast rolling administration where every single day there seems to be something popping out there. So we have a presence out there. We have one of our correspondents with the America Happens Network that does a lot of work at the White House, and we keep in touch with what's happening and the inner workings of Congress and all that.
Wow. So is it on the style of Veritas, or is it just, and I shouldn't say just, because when you do journalism right, it's not a just, it's an actual justice to the people. I mean, if you're out there like these legacy media clowns,
Yeah.
not that. So what are you doing? I mean, is it
Our work with America Happens, I mean, it's kind of like a Veritas would definitely be one of the main components of it in terms of doing investigative journalism, exposés, hidden camera type stuff, audio recordings of certain interactions, kind of like they do on Veritas. But also, what we do more of is we do long form documentaries. So, whereas Project Veritas, you'd see a scene, for example, with like some, official from the FBI or CIA having a conversation. Most of the time, what we're doing is we're getting the kind of like the full documentary, like the story behind, what's been happening. So how we led to that interaction with the guy from the FBI, CIA that we're doing surveillance on. And we'll, basically break it down kind of more in a long form documentary. So we usually take a few months to do each one of our projects. Like the last thing we dropped was a documentary called Bundy versus Deep State about the Clive and Bundy rent standoff, and it involved a lot of those kind of things. Like,
yeah, let me jump in there right quick.
yeah.
This Clive and Bundy guy.
Hmm.
Now here comes the ticket with this, ladies and gentlemen. And you know how the Southside Unicorn rides. I am a patriot. I'm a veteran, former
Yep.
peace officer, whole 9 years, all that stuff. And I am heavy on patriotism. Now, Bundy, was he an enemy of the state, or was he actually standing on solid ground when he told the government to get the hell off his property? What's up with that?
I mean, okay, what's an enemy of the state? That's the question I want to know. Like, what is an enemy of the state? Because to me, what an enemy of the state is somebody that is trying to go against our constitution is what I would think an enemy of the state is, right? With the Bundy Ranch standoff, you have a unique situation where post-constitution there was a lot of laws, there was a lot of actions that were taken within the legislature that first Bundy family would say is not legitimate. It's not constitutional, right? So there's an argument there because whereas the federal government is saying that, hey, that's our land, you're on BLM land, which is Bureau of Land Management land.
I thought you was about to say Black Lives Matters
Yeah,
land.
yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
funny.
damn, it's
That's
like
that's
that.
why I got to clarify. Yeah, every time I say BLM, I need to clarify it because this could go the other direction. You know what I mean? But similar directions though, because we're
I'm like, how can I be down if the government's giving BLM land? Hey, man.
well, that's where like the our argument lies, right? Because according to the Constitution, there was no such thing as Bureau of Land Management, and that would almost be like an overreach of what our founding fathers envisioned, right? But then you have, 200 years later, you have the federal government saying, no, it's our land. But Bundy's like, well, no, according to the Constitution, that's not your land. Uh,
Wait a minute. Okay, and I do this for color, brother. I do that because my
yeah,
audience, that's how they like for me to get down. We're going to continue in the idea, but I saw a movie called Open Range with Kevin Costner, one
yeah,
of the most cinematic, beautiful westerns I've ever seen in my life. In fact, I think I'll watch it again tonight. It's that damn good.
yeah.
But in there was this cat with an accent, and he was like, I don't take kindly to no free grazers. Is Bundy a free grazer? Is that what that is?
That's what some members of the federal government would say. I would say no, I don't think he's a free grazer. I think but when the Bundy family moved to Nevada was 10 years after Nevada was incorporated. 10 years after, right?
Oh, that's like 1912, right?
18, no, no, 18, late 1800 something. So
Oh, okay.
there's such a thing as like being the original, people that were on the land, utilizing that land. You
But
can't
you're not gonna say indigenous though, right?
not indigenous, but like 140 years later to come and say, hey, this is your great 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 grandfather's land. Now you got to leave the land because now the federal government owns it. What I'm trying to say is I think Bundy has a legitimate argument, and I don't see him as a free grazer. I don't necessarily see him as somebody that's an enemy of the state. I don't think he's an enemy of the state type of guy. And I don't think he's done anything to indicate that he's an enemy of the state. He might be an enemy of like, laws that are questionable, that are not constitutional.
But I mean, the last thing I remember about Mr. Bundy, and no disrespect to him, because I think the man's rolling kind of hard, which you got to respect, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, he,
I
you know,
like the
like
way
to
you
me,
put
he
that.
had weapons in his hand in the face of the federal government. I'm like, damn, how is that going to go?
Well,
You know?
no, no. See, that's not the when you know the minutia of the story, the way that whole thing went down is he didn't
Mhm.
really have weapons in his hand trying to face off against the government. It was more that the government showed up and said, "You got to get off the land," and they were essentially trying to push him off their land. Imagine, and this is like where you've grown up, you were born there, and
Mhm.
now they're saying you need to vacate this land. And they're like, no, we're not going to vacate it. And obviously, tussles happen. And in the midst of that, you had a situation where it was a standoff between, militia buddies of his and the federal government, but I don't think that was their intention to start a war with the federal government by any means.
Yeah, but you know how it goes with the American people. The minute they hear the word militia, which they really should respect the word militia, because if it wasn't for the Minutemen, I don't think we would have lasted but a minute as a nation.
Yeah.
So, the militia has its place. But when you hear the word militia, you go to thinking all this, militant stuff and all that. But we're gonna get away from that. But isn't it interesting that you can be an illegal alien
Hmm.
or an undocumented, and you can cold walk up to somebody's vacant house, and the police, the government, will fight you for them to remain on your property.
Hmm.
And yet, here's the Bundy family in this same spot for 100 years or better. What is that? 4 generations, five
Yeah,
generations
four,
of
four or
Bundy?
five generations, and what they're doing, sir, is also like, they're raising cattle on this land. And if you actually went on some of this land in the desert, it's just wide open land. There's land as far as the eyes can see. You know what I mean? It's land everywhere.
Land is spreading out so far and wide.
Yeah, yeah. And so, he's like using this land to raise good cattle, by the way. A lot of the stuff we eat at the, fast food joints is like really bad meat. This is like free grazing cattle. They're out there without, chemicals and hormones and all this stuff.
Sounds like him and RFK Jr. would get along famous.
I mean, I think I don't think he's doing a bad thing. He's not doing drugs. He's not like he's using that land for something positive. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a constitutionalist. So if it's right by the Constitution, I see it as, doing the right thing. And in my
And
eyes, he's right by the Constitution. But
right. And on the flip side of that, which makes me actually join arms with you, brother,
mhm.
I don't know if I'm a constitutionalist, but I do get down this way. If it's repugnant to the Constitution, I ain't feeling it. And that's the test for
Yeah,
any small magistrates, like local judges trying to tell a president what to do. If it's repugnant to the
yeah,
Constitution,
yeah.
I ain't down with that.
Kinda, exactly. That's the line I have, and that's what we do in our media too, by the way. We're talking about some of the media work we do when somebody goes beyond the bounds of the Constitution, and it's something that seems like it's now within what would be considered tyranny to some. That's where I think, now we're across the line, and as Americans, I think we got to protect our constitutional rights.
Right. And when you use the T word, you got my attention, because this nation seems to be getting very confused on what is a protest, what is insurrection, what is no one's above the law, and what is tyranny.
Hmm.
But we're going to get into all of that during this conversation, during this show. Um, I want to go into your program, America Happens. When we come back,
Yeah.
that is exactly something I want to talk about because you're kind of deep, brother. You got cameras and mics and all that stuff. So as we come up out of the Bundy family, so what has he got? Like 2 or 3 cows over there? A couple about 4 or 5 chickens or something. Is he a big spread or what's happening with him?
Oh no, he's got a pretty decent size. I mean, I don't know, he's probably in the hundreds of cattle. I'd say they grow a lot of different like, melons, things like that.
Wow.
Some of the stuff they do is really cool because, it's desert out there, man. Like if you're out in the desert, most people can't grow stuff.
Hmm.
But what's cool about that family, because I hung out with them and it was very like hanging out with the family. You know what I mean? I think if you're
Hmm.
there hanging out with them, you'd feel very much like their family. friendly. They're very welcoming type people. So they're telling me about how they're growing melons off of this soil that like with very little water, and it's like desert everywhere. And these guys are growing like nice, big, healthy melons. And it's because they have that experience. It's the pedigree of, being part of a
5 generations will do that to you, right?
5 generations, yeah. So I don't know, man. I look at some of those things and I'm like, these are national treasures. Like we got to like protect our ranchers. I see the agenda of the whole BLM thing, the Bureau of Land Management. It's funny.
Mm.
Both BLMs have an agenda, and it seems to be similar agendas, by the way. I think a lot of people have said BLM, Black Lives Matter, has a Marxist agenda. Well, BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, also has a Marxist agenda, except their agenda is probably approaching it from a different direction. So what they're trying to do.
But they same. And when you talk about and I gotta preface it that way, ladies and gentlemen, no fun intended. But when you talk about the black BLM,
Mhm.
they're avowed Marxists. They said it right out of their own damn mouths.
Yeah.
We're Marxists and we don't give a damn about daddy. We just want, nuclear families all kind of ways. But brother, I am really enjoying this conversation with you. I hope our audiences is getting something out of this. I got something out of it because I didn't know what to think about Mr. Bundy, but now I see Mr. Bundy as an American exercising his American rights. So with that, we do have to take a station break, brother, so I can get some chips up in the house. When we come back, we're going to talk about the America Happens Network because I can't wait. Who knows? They might even hook a brother up. So
Mhm.
we're gonna talk about the America Happen Network when we come back. Ladies and gentlemen, go nowhere.
You were warned. You were told. You were begged not to wake up Gen X. Well, congratulations. We're awake now.
Hey, my name is Toot Sweet, and I'm New York City's original artist, singing for the cause of freedom. I've spent the last 10 years of my life documenting history through my music. It's like a recipe that's blessing me, bringing out the best of me, aggressively testing me to create my own destiny and understanding, universally accepting adversity and learn more lessons in life than you're learning any. And when I'm in need of a dose of reality to escape the liberal land of make-believe, I tune in to the Southside Unicorn, where the truth is as solid as New York City concrete. My name is Toot Sweet, and you're listening to my friend Ken White on the Southside Unicorn, and this party's just getting started.
When I see a new broadcast from the Southside Unicorn, I can't wait to listen to it. You just never know what he's going to say.
Step 1, train the people only to consume. Step 2, infiltrate adults with the news. Step 3, indoctrinate the children through the schools and the music and the apps on the phones that they use. Step 4, separate the right from the left. Step 5, separate the white from the black. Step 6, separate the rich from the poor. Use religion and equality to separate them more. Step 7, fabricate a problem, made a lie. Step 8, put it on the news every night. Step 9, when people start to fight and divide, take control. This is called situational design.
You are listening to the Southside Unicorn Show, hosted by my friend, Ken White. He'll be back after these messages.
Hey, it's your boy Ken White, host of the Southside Unicorn Show, and we are back for segment 2 with Mr. Vim Miller. This man is a wealth of information, he's a wealth of knowledge, and he's a patriot that's bout it. He's you got people that sit on their couch. You got people who go, somebody's going to do it, but nobody did it because everybody thought that somebody, you know the story, ladies and gentlemen. You know the thing. Mr. Vim Miller, so far, I see somebody who ain't sitting on his couch. He doesn't look like he's got no extra weight going on. You out there working it. So,
Mhm.
you know, we're here and enjoying this conversation with Mr. Vim Miller. And we're so grateful that he came on to the show today. But my man's in him, he lives in Las Vegas, y'all. That's my home away from home. So before we move into other stuff, I just gotta ask you, or should I say, I gotta ask you. um, is Vegas okay? Is Vegas doing all right
On what level? There's so many different
financially?
levels.
You know,
Well,
I mean,
financially, I don't know if financially they're doing that well right now because it's obvious that when it comes to that kind of like gambling type of excess, they're probably struggling a little bit, like in terms of tourism.
mhm.
But yeah, it's doing well on, Vegas is cool. I'm from LA originally. That's why I wear the LA hat. I grew up in California and stuff. I really only moved to Vegas about 5 years ago, but I like it, I like it. I think a lot of the issues that California has, just escaping all of that was been a good change.
Well, see, that's for me. It's like how to survive, South Central, and that would make you want to move to Las Vegas. Las Vegas to me is like my home away from home. But as with many other people, I imagine that the bread and butter of Las Vegas are those casinos, or is there something else going on in Las Vegas, like regular living and people just doing their thing? What's happening out there?
No, there's a lot of people that do regular stuff. I got a lot of friends that are in software and like accountants, lawyers. I mean, there's a lot of different professions. To be honest with you, I don't even go to the strip. I don't even see much of the strip. I've been here almost like 5 years on and off, and I've been in the strip maybe like 20 times, you know what I mean? You can live
Wow.
a whole life outside of that whole tourism aspect.
So what is that? Don't go to the strip so you can keep your chips. You
Yeah,
know, be like, keep your chips. Don't go to the
I mean,
strip.
seriously, man.
Well, hey, it's true. I mean, and I just love that corridor. The 215. You get in your car, and you just take that long drive. But understand that California, which they lied about the bullet train. I
Yeah.
think they might be lying about the train that's going to go from California to Nevada. Have you seen anything that shows that might be happening?
And I was researching all that stuff. That just seems like politician scams, honestly. I mean, how long have they been talking about these trains? I don't think there's any train coming anytime soon. I mean, I think if
Wow.
they really wanted to, they could build it quite fast, but, it's just, I don't know. I think a
Yeah.
lot of our California politicians, and the sad thing about all this is the more I've gotten into politics, the more I've realized how corrupt it is. It's a lot of people are running for office. And when I say a lot, I think the large majority are running for office to enrich themselves. I don't think I'm not in the facade of like they're trying to actually build trains and do good stuff for the people. You know what I mean?
Right. And on my take on it, I call it the great train robbery
Uh-huh.
because you got all these vendors who I'm going to build some road. These
Yeah.
guys ain't built a damn thing, but they still got them checks.
They got the checks. Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly.
So yeah,
Where did all that money go?
exactly. It's a great train robbery. It kind of, and we're going to get into that. We're gonna slowly
Yeah.
slide into politics, which is the multiple bugs in my
Yeah.
in my breakdown. The multiple bugs. We're going to get into that, but I just it breaks my heart when I hear you say, and I believe you might be onto something. That a lot of these people are in this to get their chips, to get enriched. Because I mean, AOC, for example, I was reading something about her the other day.
Hmm.
She was a bartender. I am not knocking bartenders. Some of them are as wise as Methuselah. You can sit
Yeah.
down and get your whole life solved talking to a
Yeah.
bartender, but I don't think she's that kind of bartender. You know what I'm
Mm-mm.
saying? But there she was, a waitress. Was she a bartender or a waitress? Damn, you know.
I've
And
heard she's a bartender. Yeah, I heard
she
she's
was
a
an
bartender.
actress. She could make some drinks. She could
Yeah.
remember how to. Okay, all right. Well, that's a little credit for her. But the bottom line is, the girl is worth $29 million. How does that happen? I guess because of what you said. A lot of them go into politics to enrich themselves, huh?
And this is the thing where it's not like, I mean, I know you and I are both Republicans, we're both conservatives and stuff, but it's across the board. It's across the board. I mean, we knock look, the leftists are doing it for everybody's doing it for corruption. Okay. That's like
Okay.
I'm sorry to burst
The
everybody's
the big
bubble.
C is over top of all their heads, right?
Everyone, big
The big
C.
C. It's not a D. It's not an R. It's a big ass C.
And
Well,
underneath this big C, you have two
big
groups
C
of
corrupt.
people, and one of them,
we're from the corruption party.
one of them's cool. One side's cool with cutting off your, son's penis. The other side ain't cool with that. And that's really where, yes, you and I obviously side with are with the side that don't want to do that.
Leave the penis alone.
Leave the penis alone side. But like at the end of the day, they're both doing it for corrupt reasons. Yes, the leftists are doing it. Like what's happened with the left is horrendous. They're horrendous. I mean, the Democrats it's this like weird cult thing at this point. I can't even call Democrats because unlike you, I was actually a Democrat at one point. I went from being a Democrat to becoming a Republican.
Well, excuse me, but I'm a brag right now.
Yeah.
I love using movie analogies. That's one of my favorite things on my show. I'm like Blade. You know what I'm saying? I'm a pureblood. I got all of a vampire strengths because I grew up on the south side of Chicago, but I ain't got none of their weaknesses because I don't play that, man. The Democrats are. I'm not going to talk bad about him today. We're going to talk to Vim Miller and get to know him a lot better.
When you said your story about when you were a kid, like that's great. I mean, 10 years old, you already know which political party you're aligned with, man. I mean, that's, yeah.
Did you ever see the cartoon Boondocks?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah.
Yeah, with Riley and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was Riley before Riley was Riley. You know what I'm saying?
Got you.
And so I'm walking around the south side of Chicago, and we got nothing but abandoned buildings. Next thing you know, you see a police car by that abandoned building and a mama crying because on the way home from school, it was her daughter that got snatched by the Wahoo Man. There was a radio station called...
What's the Wahoo Man?
Watch this. There was a radio, I think it's probably still there. There's a radio station in Chicago called WVON, okay? And Tom Joyner used to be on WVON in Chicago. And the way they would help us navigate some of the horrors of being a young person on the south side of Chicago, they used to tell us on the radio, y'all better watch out for the Wahoo Man. The Wahoo Man was nothing more than a pedophile or a drunk, that would snatch a young girl on her way home from school and, do god-awful stuff to her in those abandoned buildings. So here I am, 10 years old, and I'm walking past these abandoned buildings, and you can see the shadowy figures moving around in them. So you just move a lot faster to get away from the Wahoo Man,
Yeah,
and then the next thing you know, it's a Saturday night. My mom is sitting in the window of the house, silhouette, because the lights are off. She's smoking her Winston Red, looking out the window, and I'm laying on the floor watching TV and watching my mom watch the people go by, right? And the next thing you know, pop, 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 pop. All that peace and quiet with my mama is punctuated, by the gunfire. Then I go to school and I'm trying to learn. Little did I know I was a little smarter than the average bear. So I'm trying to finish my lessons real fast. And please forgive me, I normally don't deal with race. But the white teachers who were from Kankakee or Waukegan or whatever, they didn't live in my neighborhood. They just drove to my neighborhood to be the teacher. I could look in their eyes and see that I was irritating them. That something, I'm reading in the 6th grade, I'm reading at a college level. And I'm like, I'm hungry. Give me more. But there was no money. There was no resources. There were no scholarships back in the 60s and 70s. That wasn't happening for a brother, So here I am. My brain is burning. They gave me the Mark in the Park books. You remember Mark in the Park books, right? See Mark run. Mark is in the park. Man, I finished all that stuff in like a month and handed it to her. She's like, Kenneth, you are not supposed to do all of your work right away. This is for the entire school year. Ma'am, give me some more. Give me something else. They wouldn't do it. So make a long story short, I saw the Democrat Party, as Hamlet would say, naked, unvented, and envenomed. You know what I'm saying? I saw them for who the hell they were. And it didn't help me that I actually saw Ronald Reagan on TV, and he was speaking life. You know what I mean? The man's, what do they call him? Ronaldus Magnus. You know what I'm saying? Ronaldus Magnus was speaking life, and my ears resonated to it. So at 10 years of age, yeah, you're right, bro. I was done with the Democrats. They ain't nowhere in the hell I want something to do with people who are intentionally doing this to my neighborhood.
Totally, yeah.
So on to you, brother. The America Happens Network. What is that?
So America Happens Network is something that I actually came up with back in the early 2000s. It's just generally it's like a TV network but online. You know, the gist is that we're doing a lot of different shows with a lot of different personalities and stuff, podcasts, documentaries, and that's what it is. So I do a podcast called Blood Money on there. That's my podcast. Actually,
I saw that.
that sign back there. If it's not blurry, it actually says Blood Money. I could turn it off.
It's blurred out, but that's okay. I mean, I ain't afraid of the word blood.
You hear her, you know what I mean? Like it's blurred out, but yeah, So that's
Can you
my
fire it up? Can you fire it up? It looked pretty cool.
yeah, sure, no problem, dude.
Yeah, fire it up, bro.
It's
Put your logo out there. It's all right.
yeah. So that's Blood Money. It's I've got it on the blur setting, but I could probably fix that here. But yeah, so I do that podcast, and then we do documentaries, which we do here. That should there we go, Blood Money.
Oh, tight. Hey, you know what? You should have done that from the beginning, bro. That's
Yeah.
nice.
All right.
Put it this way: we're on the same team. No different than the Dresdens. No different than the Minutemen. Each one of those groups, the Dragoons, right? They all had their own flags, but they were all still down for America, right?
Yeah.
The Blood Money flag, that's your flag.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? See that horn back there? That's me. The horn is me. They look good together. That's a good thing right there.
That's awesome.
So can anybody, like, say they got a podcast or whatnot, are they able to come to you and say, put my podcast on your network?
Yeah, so we started bringing on other creators. That's the gist of the America Happens Network. It's actually it was started by me and my business partner is a lady by the name of Mindy Robinson, and then we started.
How does that sound familiar to me, Mindy?
She's a really well-known influencer. She's got quite a following. She did this documentary on the Route 91 shooting, the Las Vegas mass shooting massacre, which a lot of people say was never investigated properly, and that's what her documentary's about. And so, yeah, we do. That's what we do. Like we start bringing on people. We want to have a big collective of, great talents that, basically produce content around the clock. So people have a go-to destination for this kind of content where we're talking the truth. We're, not talking about things that you don't necessarily hear in the mainstream media. So kind of a special destination for uncensored media,
You're not coming across like those people in The View. I mean, I've lately in the last 2 months, I've seen The View get checked. They say something, and the next thing you know, the suits walk right on the stage and be like, "You really can't be saying that. You're gonna get
yeah, because they're all getting sued, man. They're all getting sued, and Trump just won that $10 million lawsuit a few months back where it was for the defamation. I mean, this is what needs to happen because trying to be nice with some of these people and be like,
hell no.
Stop saying bad things about me. You're a big fat meanie. I mean, it doesn't work. But you know what really works is when you sue somebody and you hurt their pockets, that works. They'll remember that. And the next guy that's going to do the same nonsense, he'll remember that. You know what I mean? So I'm a big fan of lawsuits, honestly, because it's the only way
the lawsuit is my friend. The lawsuit is my friend. Where you at, my friend?
Yeah.
But let me, speaking of lawsuits, I want to ask you a question because perhaps you might know.
Sure.
Is it true that Pam Bundy then got off in Whoopi Goldberg's wallet? Did she get into Whoopi's wallet?
Oh, I have no idea, man. That'd be beautiful. I know other people have gotten into
I heard that Pam Bundy won a lawsuit against Whoopi Goldberg that's pretty painful, but I don't know if it's tabloid or and I'm not able to get a source that'll be able to.
The sad thing is, as a host, even if like she got hit with a lawsuit, it'd be their insurance paying for it. But the beauty of it is, insurance gets tired of paying for stuff, and eventually they'll put the pressure on to make sure that, like Whoopi Goldberg, she shouldn't be on television. I mean, how many defamation lawsuits are you going to be subject to?
Exactly. I've heard that woman say some stuff, and I'm like, I know she lying. She just told a bald-faced lie, but there she is. Hey, brother, you know how this goes. I got to take a break real quick I can get some chips up in here on the Southside Unicorn Show. If you all are liking the content and what you got, what you're seeing, you can go over there to Cash App and just hit us up with the $ SSUSS44 and drop some chips on us. Show us some love. Vim, how did they get in touch with you? How did they hook you up with some chips?
Oh, we've got a Give Send Go account actually. If you just go to Give Send Go America Happens, givesendgo.com/America Happens. That's us right there. Every penny is used to create content that fights corruption. So
There it is. So we're going to go ahead and slide into a station break, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you like some of the commercials. There might be some good stuff over there. Some of the people that'll be on the commercials are good friends of mine. Toot Sweet, Kathy's Right. All these people. These are all influencers, all producers of some really good content. But we got to take a break. So go nowhere. We'll be right back after these messages.
When I see a new broadcast from the Southside Unicorn, I can't wait to listen to it. You just never know what he's going to say.
Hey, my name is Toot Sweet, and I'm New York City's original artist, singing for the cause of freedom. I've spent the last 10 years of my life documenting history through my music. It's like a recipe that's blessing me, bringing out the best of me, aggressively testing me to create my own destiny and understanding, universally accepting adversity and learn more lessons in life than you'll learn in any. And when I'm in need of a dose of reality to escape the liberal land of make-believe, I tune in to the Southside Unicorn, where the truth is as solid as New York City concrete. My name is Toot Sweet, and you're listening to my friend Ken White on the Southside Unicorn, and this party is just getting started.
Step 1, train the people only to consume. Step 2, infiltrate adults with the news. Step 3, indoctrinate the children through the schools and the music and the apps on the phones that they use. Step 4, separate the right from the left. Step 5, separate the white from the black. Step 6, separate the rich from the poor. Use religion and equality to separate them more. Step 7, fabricate a problem, made a lie. Step 8, put it on the news every night. Step 9, when people start to fight and divide, take control. This is called situational design.
You are listening to the Southside Unicorn Show, hosted by my friend, Ken White. He'll be back after these messages.
Hey, it's your boy Ken White, host of the Southside Unicorn Show, and we are back for the third segment of the show with Vim Miller. And now, see, this is the part, ladies and gentlemen, where we start to drill down. No different than my boy Bruce Willis on Armageddon when they were sitting there with the drill, trying to get it to go, stepping on it and all that. So now we're going to step on it a little bit. My man actually ran for political office. He ran for, let me see if I can get that right. Hold on, let me check my stuff.
Nevada Assembly District 13.
Now, see, I wouldn't have messed with that, brother. Could you have done the 14 or the 12? 13, So you ran for District 12. What made you want to run for District 13?
Man, frustration, honestly. Frustration from just watching, we keep saying corruption, but it's more like criminal activity against we the people. That's what it is. It's not like, I don't even like using soft words anymore, it's criminal activity against we the people by people like who you're talking about, where you have an AOC, she gets into Congress and all of a sudden she's got 30 million, or you got a Nancy Pelosi and she's got 500 million in the bank. These are crimes that are happening against us. I hope people realize that. Yes, people aren't being punished necessarily for these crimes, but these are crimes happening against us, against our.
So that's what that compelled you to want to run for office. And if you had made it in office,
to be different and try to, and obviously I didn't win, but my goal was to really call it out the way it is. And just like we do in our content, by the way, at this point, after doing 1,000 episodes of exposing what's going on every level of corruption, it's not like I could walk into any political office and pretend to be one of them. You know what I'm saying? At this point, I've already.
No, wait, I got to stop you right there.
Yeah.
When you say one of them, but you are a Republican, who is your them? Are you talking about the Democrats, or are you talking about some Republicans too?
Man,
who's that them for you?
I'm talking about, and I apologize for the harsh word, but the political prostitutes. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the kind of person that will take a lot of money from for doing bad things, whether it's pushing medication that hasn't been tested, whether it's going against, laws that clean up our water so our kids are not drinking,
like some of those politicians out there in Las Vegas, which I happen to know about, that they took these people's land and they ain't gave the land back, and they were trying to turn it into commercial use. But all of the city council members on that, they all got paid.
Paid, exactly, man. It's that kind of stuff, and it's the look, man, the corruption is the rule, not the exception. And unless we fix that, and this is why I ran for office, this is why we do the media that we do, it's a downward spiral. You know what I mean? That's all it is. You can't have so many of these individuals robbing us. And by the way, not doing things like, building a rail system after they've raised millions of dollars. And where did
billions with a B.
Billion, and where'd that money go? I'm sure, I'm telling you, you got some houses, you got some trust funds, you got a lot of people living lavish lives off of that, and we, the people, are thinking, hey, they're going to build trains for us. You know what I mean? It's just, man, I don't know. It's a lot of people enrich themselves. My background, I think, has a lot to do with my perspective too, because at a very young age, I was a very successful music video director. I actually filmed in the South Sides of Chicago back in 2003. For a DMX video in some, really rough neighborhoods. And what I'm trying to say is I actually saw the celebrity lifestyle. I actually, ran into people like Kanye West and P. Diddy coming up, Master P, DMX. And what I'm trying to say is I saw, people living lives of luxury, and it just, I don't know. It's not for me to sell my morality for, hey, you got a mansion or you got this extra car number 10. I just saw too many celebrities being a music video director and being a producer that were miserable having all that stuff. You see what I'm saying? So, I'm like, all right, man, you are a celebrity. You got all the women in the world. You got all the cars in the world. You got the mansions. You got the private jets, and you're miserable. You know what I'm saying? So why?
Because money don't get it done. You remember Prince? Huh?
Money don't get it done.
Right. What was that? Money don't matter yesterday. Right? It sure don't matter tonight. That's Prince. Prince was deep on that. People out there chasing these chips and whatnot, they're lost souls. But now, when I listen to you talk, Vim,
could I say one thing? I think money do matter. Money do matter because if you do, but it's like ill-gotten gains when you get money from the wrong way, by selling people out, by harming people. That's the wrong kind of money. I think that kind of money you could never enjoy. Those kind of people always try to look for some kind of vice to mute the fact that they've sold a part of their soul or whatever. And I kept seeing that over and over again, man. That's my story,
Right. Here's where I'm at with that, because I'm listening to you, and I'm a Republican too, but I don't know for how much longer. I mean, there's just some shady stuff going on. But would you consider yourself almost ready to be an independent? Did you run as an independent?
100%. I'm done with both parties, brother. I'm done with both parties.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that.
I'm marginally more I'm significantly more Republican in the fact that the left is just completely crazy, right? When you're talking about, transitioning children and like parents losing dominion over their children, and like all of a sudden you got to call your child by her male name because that's what she was brain. That stuff is just madness. So it's not.
It has me tripping over my tongue because I don't know what to call people, because when I'm hanging around with people, right, I'll be like, man, look. And then there's somebody in that crowd that ain't necessarily a man no more, and then they get all bent out of shape, and I'm like, it's hard for me to turn my tongue into a gymnast.
Yeah.
Totally. You know what I mean? My tongue can't do acrobats. And so I'm with you on that. Are you going to run for office?
So the point I'm trying to make is like I'm more Republican because I don't want to be part of an insane group of lunatics, right?
I can never be a Democrat. Put it this way. They could probably put you and me up on a firing line and be like, you're going to be Democrat right now. Would you take the shot?
I think I'm taking the shot, bro. I can't do it, man. I can't
It's,
do it.
it's the watch this. It's the only time they're gonna be able to give me a shot. You know, I didn't take the jab. Did you take the jab?
Oh, I thought you were talking about
No,
taking
no, no. I was being
both.
watch this. I was doing a double
Oh
entendre. I
no,
was at
no, dude. I ain't taking no, dude. I'm fighting my way out of that one. There's no that shot. There's no way I'm taking that shot, man.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
talking about the jab? Like, no way, bro. No way. No. I'm going down fighting with that one, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
I, you know, because I'm a veteran, so I was over at the VA hospital doing the days of the viddies. I call it the viddies, right?
Yeah.
During the days of the viddies, and I'll be damned if that nurse didn't ask me 5 times if I wanted the shot. I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, yeah.
I see here you don't have the shot yet. Would you like us to prepare one for you now? No. I said, and
No.
I told her, I said, if you ask me again, I'm getting up and I'm leaving. Well,
Yeah,
she
yeah.
asked me again. What do you think I did?
You got up and left, bro.
Got
That's
up one,
great.
and I was sick too. I wasn't feeling too good, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah.
like, if you're not gonna give me the medical treatment that I'm here for, and you're trying to push this jab on me, I'm I'm over it, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Going forward, do you see yourself running for office again?
I'm not sure about running for office, but I definitely see my path as more of an independent. I just, man, I just can't be down with the party system. And I think it's an unnatural thing for us to be, it's like gang warfare. Like you're either in this gang or you're that gang. And I think,
Sort of like you and me. You got the red, I got the blue and
yeah,
purple,
yeah,
red, blue. You
yeah,
know, hey,
yeah,
but
yeah.
we're not enemies. We're good.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm like, I think a lot of us, I think, are too free thinking to be
Hmm.
categorized that way. And I think, honestly, man, I think that's part of the psychological warfare against the American people, where you put us into two different gangs, and we're out there
Yeah.
arguing amongst the gangs and not really looking up. Remember how we're talking about the big sea of corruption? We're not looking up over here. You know what I'm saying? Because we're too busy
Hmm.
doing this thing. And that's what I'm about now. I think we need to really just it's all about the Constitution at the end of the day, man. I think like Republicans or Democrats have a tendency to disregard our Constitution, and I think we just got to remind them to keep that in line, you know?
Well, what's got me feeling some kind of way is, and here goes another one of my movie analogies, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about the movie 300 with my
Yeah.
man Leonidas. Leonidas at the Hop Gates, when he went through those gates, his men were behind him. And like he said, today nobody dies, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
He's like, take from them everything and leave them nothing. President Donald J. Trump has walked through the Hop Gates for us, and he's looking behind him at the Congress and the Senate and saying, come on,
Hmm.
are these guys moving fast enough for your taste, or am I just being impatient?
Oh no, man, they're not moving fast enough at all. But we got generations of nonsense to fix, with this USAID nonsense, with all the bribe and extortion money that they had hidden in all these different methods and stuff. I mean, I don't know, seems like we have like 50, 60 years of nonsense to fix in a matter of 3, 4 years, which
And we already
I
down to what, three
anybody.
and a half years?
3.5 years almost, man, and it's crazy how fast it's going to go, And I mean, I hope to God that Trump sets a new tradition for this country, because the tradition has become so flawed in the fact that I think the last 50, 60 years of presidents we've accepted, for the most part, I mean, there's been one or two exceptions,
And
have
all this Magnus.
have been really like bad, not very America first options, and like
Oh no! I mean, I thought you were saying some good ones. To me, Ronald Reagan was about as
Ronald
good as it
Reagan.
got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was working, Ronald Reagan was working against a lot of corruption, obviously, but things have gotten so much worse since Reagan's time. I think what Trump was dealt with was, I mean, just years and years more
A
of
real live bona
corruption.
fide deep state, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
absolute deep state. And you know what? And you and me both said that we would never be Democrats. I could never be a Democrat.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But
Yeah.
the Reverend Jesse Jackson, he said something that has now become extremely profound. When he was running for presidential office, when he
Hmm.
was in the campaign, he said, y'all need to stay out them bushes. I thought it was kind of a nice play on words, right? He's like, stay out them bushes. And
Hmm.
now that I've done a little bit of deep diving myself, the Bush family,
Oh yeah.
damn,
Yeah. Yeah. See, that's why I was like, I became a Democrat, is because of George W. Bush, you know?
Oh,
Uh,
you ain't no Democrat. Let me help you. Let me help you out.
no,
You
no,
said you.
when I'm talking about when I was a kid, like, this
Oh,
is,
you were a Democrat.
yeah. When I came
Oh,
out of
okay.
college, I was like, I started inquiring about politics, and the first dude in front of me was George W. Bush, starting
Mm.
all these wars, lying his, butt off and stuff. And that's why I was like, at one point, I was a Barack Obama fan, thinking that that's the dude
Oh,
that's
don't
going to
say.
save us. Yeah, just being straight, I got to be honest,
I gotta watch that. I think I cursed. I'm gonna have to bleep that out.
no, I'm sorry. I had no
You
idea
shocked
about
me with
the
that.
depth of politics. But then,
Mm,
once I started to learn about the Democrats' history, see, I never knew that stuff. I came up in Hollywood. So to me, it was kind of
yeah.
like it's a uniparty town. So to me, it
Mm,
was a big thing, like being against Hillary. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Back in those
And,
days.
and, isn't it ironic, brother? Here you are, a white man, and you voted for Obama. Here
Hmm.
I am, a brother, and there was no way in the hell I was going to vote for him. In 2007, when he started this campaign, the people around me, they're all, hey, we're going to have our first black president.
Yeah.
Woo-wee. Kenny, ain't you happy? And I'm sitting there being quiet. They're like, Kenny, ain't you happy? And I turned to them and I said, if we make the terrible mistake
Hmm.
of electing this man as president, what you're going to see is riots in the streets, buildings boarded up, death and destruction. Here's what I say, brother. I'm going to give you this one, Vim. You might want to hold on to it. In 2007, I called Barack Hussein Obama the Sardinian swordsman to America.
Oh, wow.
That's who
Wow.
he is. I saw it clear and simple.
Yeah, yeah.
And we have been nothing but jacked up ever since that man has showed up on the scene. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about the First Amendment, Second Amendment. We're even going to get into a question I've been, dying to ask you. Has to do with someone who's running for office here in the state of California, the gubernatorial race. I think you got some things you want to say about that. So, we're going to take a station break, ladies and gentlemen. And when we come back, we're going to let Vim Miller put us on tip because, as he said, he's a political beast. He's run for office. He's done exposés, and we're going to talk about that too. But I think he has an eye on the California gubernatorial race, and he wants to share some stuff with us. So when we come back, we're going to hear what that stuff is. We're going for a station break. Go nowhere.
Hey, my name is Toot Sweet, and I'm New York City's original artist, singing for the cause of freedom. I've spent the last 10 years of my life documenting history through my music. It's like a recipe that's blessing me, bringing out the best of me, aggressively testing me to create my own destiny and understanding, universally accepting adversity and learn more lessons in life than you'll learn in any. And when I'm in need of a dose of reality to escape the liberal land of make-believe, I tune in to the Southside Unicorn, where the truth is as solid as New York City concrete. My name is Toot Sweet, and you're listening to my friend Ken White on the Southside Unicorn, and this party is just getting started.
Step 1, train the people only to consume. Step 2, infiltrate adults with the news. Step 3, indoctrinate the children through the schools and the music and the apps on the phones that they use. Step 4, separate the right from the left. Step 5, separate the white from the black. Step 6, separate the rich from the poor. Use religion and equality to separate them more. Step 7, fabricate a problem, made a lie. Step 8, put it on the news every night. Step 9, when people start to fight and divide, take control. This is called situational design.
When I see a new broadcast from the Southside Unicorn, I can't wait to listen to it. You just never know what he's going to say.
You are listening to the Southside Unicorn Show, hosted by my friend, Ken White. He'll be back after these messages.
Hey, it's your boy Ken White, host of the Southside Unicorn Show. And today, our guest is Vim Miller. Now, you're probably out there saying, why does that name sound familiar to me? I said earlier in the show, that's what you might be doing. Well, now let's go ahead and take some of the wrappings off of that name. I would say infamous name, but that would give it a taint, and I'm not trying to do that. But the name is recognizable, and you're probably going to hear more of that name in the weeks and months to come. Vim Miller is the exact same Vim Miller who was in the city of Coachella, California, at the time that President Donald J. Trump came here. And I think that was a pivotal appearance. I think it really helped him to tip the scales on a lot of things. It was a big deal. And Vim Miller was at the exact same event. He made or had an encounter with law enforcement, and that encounter didn't go so good. Now, there's people out there that would always say, but yeah, he's a white man, so it came out okay. But if he was a brother, I bet you he'd have got shot up. I don't know. And I don't play that kind of stuff. I wasn't there. But Vim Miller was there. And because he was there, I'm going to let him go ahead and explain to you all what that's all about. Mr. Miller, I've seen it in the news. I saw, that because, hey, the first time I heard that President Trump had been shot, my stomach fell into my gut. I was like, I just, I mean, everything about me just sank into my feet. I'm like, Lord Jesus, please let him still be alive. Don't let them have gotten this man. And so once we learned that he was going to be okay, you feel a little bit better. But no, when you first heard the news, how did you feel about it?
Yeah, no, no. I mean, that was we reported actually about both of the attempts on America Happens, and we're pretty much at the forefront of some of the reporting that was happening actually with both of them in terms of, the mainstream media was actually not really talking about a potential individual.
Yeah, I hear you, but what I'm asking is, how did you feel about it? When you heard that he had been shot, what came into your mind?
Well, I mean, just anger, because it's I've been seeing this stuff brewing in terms of my big lane has been mainstream media and the fact that the mainstream media, because that's where I was part of. I came up in the mainstream media. I worked at all these
The press credentials and all that stuff?
Yeah, yeah. So I worked at every network out there in some capacity or another, right? So when I saw them starting blood on the streets, like turning Americans against Americans, and then, shootings happening and people dying on the streets and cities burning down, and the precursor to the assassination attempts, I mean, I knew violence of that sort was coming. And it was very obvious that they were trying to, kill the president. And I find
they're trying to unalive him. I think that seems
yeah.
to be the new word that everybody likes using to avoid getting, clipped out,
Yeah.
unalive. And when you look up in the Secret Service director, this woman, I'll be damned if she didn't have a smirk on her face when the Congress called her in to explain herself. Did you see that? Did you get that feel from her?
Yeah, I mean, again, that was a DEI hire. They didn't have proper protection. They didn't investigate that if either of those assassination attempts, especially a Butler one, they didn't investigate it properly. It was very obvious, hey, CNN all of a sudden is showing a Trump rally live when they never show Trump rallies. It was
Ever.
to me, it's like, why aren't people in the mainstream media being arrested? Because somebody at CNN had to have known that's not a coincidence that, hey, we're about to see the president potentially get shot because they aired that and they normally don't air that. So there's a lot.
They were hoping to have a Kennedy moment going down the parade road.
Live on air, all of us become deflated. The globalists take over. So, as we've been talking, I could kind of, I guess, segue this into the Chad Bianco story. So as we've been talking, for people that go to America Happens, our Rumble channel, I mean, we've been doing this sort of content of exposing this nonsense for a really long time. I mean, I started this back in the early 2000s. But really brought it back as a result of the mainstream media censorship in 2018, 2019. And the crazy thing about all of this is that when I showed up to that Trump Coachella rally on October 12th, well, I didn't really show up to the rally. I was actually 1.2 miles away. I happened
That's close enough. Watch this. Are you a weapons aficionado? Do you dabble in weapons a little bit?
No, not much. No, no.
I do. I call them BB guns because to me a pistol is nothing more than a glorified BB gun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's some weapons that at a mile you're still good.
Well,
Do
no,
you
no,
have
I didn't even have, no, what I had with me was, so I was coming from Nevada. That's where I reside. I came to California to do, essentially, I was doing an investigative journalism project. So I had in the back of my SUV, I have a shotgun and I have a Glock 19 handgun, right? And so then from
Wait a
there,
minute. Wait. I get. And please let me take this ride with you because I'm
sure.
trying to understand. Now, see, do you have your CCWs and all that kind of stuff, or or you just not a gunman? You're not a.
I'm not a gunman, and whenever I carry in Nevada, it's open carry is allowed. So I've never gotten a CCW.
You don't have any CCWs or anything like that?
No,
See,
no.
yours truly, ladies and gentlemen, I got my CCW, and I'm letting some of y'all out there know that just so you understand. Don't be coming at me crazy. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? But you know, you got to keep it real with some of these knuckleheads. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
But
yeah.
the bottom line is, no CCWs and all that stuff. And when you were there, were you there like to investigate a politician? Were
No,
you
no,
about to
no.
do
So
a
I'm in
Veritas type thing?
no, no, I'm in California doing basically a Project Veritas type thing in a dangerous location. That's why I had these two firearms. And then from there, I go to basically I was at 1.2 miles from the rally.
Mm.
I do.
You in what would be considered the outbound because full disclosure to your audience and mine, I'm ex-military law enforcement specialist. I'm an ex-peace officer, and I do security for major events such as Coachella and Stagecoach and stuff. I've been involved in that type of stuff. So you were in what was considered the outbound area of protection. There's like three layers. Did you how many checkpoints did you hit?
No, I never went through a checkpoint. See, that's what I'm trying to say was
Okay,
that
now I'm gonna shut up and let you do your thing.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So this is like before there's a parking lot entrance, right? And I got to break this down because the way
Mm.
Chad Bianco reported this was really to make himself look like a fake hero because none of what he said was true, right? He said that I had gone to a Trump rally and tried to enter the Trump rally with guns, and that's just actually not accurate at all. And the evidence exists online for anybody to find out because what the instructions of the actual pass said was that you enter
Did
this
you have a pass?
yeah, yeah, of course, yeah.
So you okay?
Yeah, so it says that you enter the parking lot. From the parking
Mhm.
lot, you got to walk to the shuttle stop. From the shuttle stop, you get a shuttle, and that shuttle drives you 1 mile down the road, and then it drops you off in front of the Trump rally, which then you got to go through Secret Service to enter the Trump rally. So where I
It's the
was,
inbound protection. Yeah.
yeah, so I wasn't even in that inner perimeter of the parking lot. The inner perimeter of the parking lot was about 20 yards from me when I pulled up to a sheriff's deputy.
Brother, did you have any of those BB guns on you when you got out your vehicle?
No, no. So what I'm trying to say is, I drove up to the sheriff's deputy before even trying to enter the parking lot and
Okay.
disclosed to him and said, "Hey, I have a couple of firearms with me. I'm from Nevada. I'm also with the Nevada Republican Party." I told him that I'd run for office. I even told him, "Hey, your guys are welcome to hang on to these firearms if it's an issue,
Mhm.
because I'm very sensitive to the fact that like the security measures are tightened because of all these crazy."
Well, yeah, the man got shot at twice. I
Yeah,
mean,
so I told him, you're welcome to hold on to my firearms, just letting you know I have a couple of firearms. And by the way, just to be very clear, I didn't know much about firearms like to begin with. I just gotten these as a recommendation. But Glock 19 is not a long range firearm. You know how you're talking about there's certain firearms where at a mile.
that's why watch this. That's why I'm asking, brother,
Yeah,
because
yeah. So the
you
Glock
know,
19 is a handgun that I would have to
right.
be at close range, so it's not an assassination tool. My other weapon is a shotgun, which again you have to be at close
Be
range.
pretty close up, yeah.
Yeah, it's not an assassination tool. So nonetheless, what happened was after I disclosed that I have these firearms, and by the way, I'm only disclosing this because I'm telling these guys, expecting to hear one of two things. One, yes, sir, you could park your car and then it's a mile away because I'm not, I got to get on the shuttle. You got to go through security and all
None
that
of the
stuff.
weapons on your person. You didn't have.
Yeah, I never had them on my person. It wasn't on. It hadn't been on my person since I was in Nevada, which is the only place you could actually, roll around.
Right, because in California, you can't have it on your person.
Yeah,
It better not be loaded. It damn sure better not be loaded because they freak out about that. I
yeah,
think it's actually a penal code if to carry a loaded weapon in California, you don't have the proper,
yeah, yeah.
credentials. If you had to say a state was hostile to the 2A amendment, wouldn't you agree that California is like the worst?
I mean, I don't even consider California like a part of the United States when it comes to our Constitution, because what happened with this whole instance was so crazy. Because, like I told you, by the way, everything I've told you has been it's on recording for people that want to actually listen
Mhm.
to me go through this motions of
Because
exactly
you
what I
got my
told you.
attention, brother. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
listening because I'm like, what the hell happened?
So check out my X account, which is my name, but with an NOT in front of it. It's not Vim Miller. There's a video pinned to the profile there.
Now, let me stop you real quick. Why is
Sure.
it named not Vim Miller, but it is Vim Miller?
Oh, because it's Twitter 1.0 canceled my account because I was putting a lot of postings about COVID-19 and all that stuff. So I got
Oh,
canceled back when it was the first regime, and then when Elon bought it, I still haven't been able to get my Van Miller back.
I think Elon needs to check that system. I think some of the ghosts in the machine are still there
Yeah, oh
and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
still
totally,
operating.
yeah. Because I keep writing to them, they're like, "Oh well, we can't unlock your old account because I guess Twitter 1.0 put it out of commission because they were offended by all my free
They really meant to get you. They were
crimes."
like, we're not even, this ain't coming back, so we may as well just
Yeah,
tear this
yeah,
up and this man is
yeah.
done.
Yeah. But so
Mm.
what I was trying to say is like, I actually, there was no semblance of me being an assassin or a threat to President Trump. In fact, 2 months ago, I was at Mar-a-Lago with President Trump there. But what happened with
Whoa,
Chad,
whoa, whoa, pump the brakes, pump the brakes.
yeah.
You were at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, like teetotaling and talking about how do you do? I'm fine if you are. You were actually at
Yeah, yeah.
Mar-a-Lago
If you guys look at it,
hobnobbing.
there's a Newsweek article because what happened after all of this is Chad Bianco.
This is after the infamous.
This is like 2 months ago. This is 7 months ago is when that assassin hoax thing happened. So 2 months ago, I'm at Mar-a-Lago. Newsweek finds out about it. The magazine Newsweek. They're like, dude, what happened? They're like, weren't you the guy that Chad Bianco was saying you're an assassin, you're a lunatic, you showed up with fake IDs, fake passports? I mean, he said a lot of crazy things. None
Oh,
of
well, wait, that's the one thing. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's the one
yeah,
thing I want to ask you about.
yeah.
Okay, they got this damn real ID stuff going on where you got to have a little star on your
Yeah.
driver's license or you can't get on an aeroplane, right?
hmm
Do you have multiple passports or do you have just one?
I got all I got is like so I was born in Canada. I grew up in California, right? So I have a Canadian passport because I was born there. I have a US passport because I grew up in California, right? And I
And
also
so
have
you're a dual citizen.
I'm a dual citizen and I have a Nevada driver's license. And then somehow that was blown up into like basically Chad Bianco lying because what's the proof that none of this is true? The proof is that everything I've just told you in terms of the lies of Chad Bianco are felonious accusations. If you have fake IDs, if you have fake passports, if you have,
Looking pretty sketch. If you got all that stuff, brother, and I like you so far, but if you
yeah,
got fake IDs, you got guns, you know what I'm saying? You got all this stuff. You're starting to look like what's that dude, Jason Bourne or somebody, man. That's what it
so
sounds like.
that's the point. You said the perfect thing right there because that's exactly what I've been telling everybody, man. He was trying to paint a picture of a James Bond, Jason Bourne type of assassin, somebody that his police force took down, and the scarier he made me sound, the more of a hero he sounds like. But the sad thing about all this, bro, is that it's a complete lie. And the way you know it's a complete lie is everything that I just told you is a felony, right? Which means I wouldn't be sitting to you, right? Like here, I'm sitting down and talking to you. I ain't in jail, right?
No charges were pressed. And
I haven't
oh man,
served
watch
one
this.
day. I haven't
Go ahead.
served one day in jail. I haven't been charged with nothing. The FBI and Secret Service didn't even want to interview me about these accusations. That's how you know it's all BS. So now,
Okay, watch this. In fairness, and you're gonna have to come back on the show, brother. You're gonna have to have
yeah,
me on your show and you can finish
sure,
because
sure.
Connie just hit me with the buzzer. She's like, "You're out of time." But like I told you, I'm like a soup Nazi. We do the show as the show goes. I'm gonna go ahead and step past that clock because I want to finish talking to you. But
Sure,
I
sure.
got, in all fairness to the gentleman you're speaking about, because he's not here,
I know.
right? I know that when I have a situation that makes my spidey senses kick in, right? I'm looking at that situation a little bit harder. Could it be that he was just operating out of an abundance of caution because of
No,
the
no, no. Because if you're doing abundance of caution, what you do, and you're like you said, you've been in the military and all that, there's protocol, right? You don't grab some dude, and without you having enough information, you don't stand up in front of the world and have press conferences and do media tours, which is what he did. He had a big press conference, and then he went on Fox and ABC and NBC and did this whole media tour about how
Let me ask you a question. At the
yeah,
time he's doing the circuit, right?
yeah.
Had you already been passed by the alphabet soups? Did FBI, did
This is this
CIA
is
kind
this
of
is
like
the
go,
crazy.
man?
This is the crazy thing. By the time he did his news conference, the FBI and Secret Service that morning had already said, "I'm no assassin." The Trump campaign, because I've worked with them, like I told you, I've been to Mar-a-Lago many times. The Trump people know me, or at least the people around Trump know of me because of all
The
the work
circles
I've been
know you.
doing. Yeah, I've been doing this work since like 2019, where enough people have heard of me where they're like, wait a minute, this is not sounding correct because, this is a man. I mean, I've been in rooms with Trump for the last 5 years where it's like maybe 100 people. So if I was a bad dude, I've had plenty of opportunities. Let me put it that way, right? So the point.
Or maybe you was just trying to get him comfortable. I'm just being, you know what I mean? I'm just being
do,
devil's
do the
advocate. You
sneak
know what
attack.
I'm
I don't know. But you,
saying?
you see what I'm saying? It's like anybody that
Right.
does any bit of research, man. I had podcasters that were like, dude, we went online, we did 3 minutes of research. We knew that you were no Trump assassin, right? So
Mhm.
the long answer I've just given you, sir, is that we have pattern and protocol when it comes to our jobs, right?
Well,
If
yeah.
you're a sheriff, you don't just go run up in front of the world, which is what he did. He ran up in front of the world and then he kept running and running and running, saying that this man's a lunatic, assassin, all this crazy stuff, right? You don't, if you're going to do something out of abundance of caution, what you do is you don't talk. You don't talk. That's what you don't have a press conference. Like you just shut up at that point. You're like, abundance of caution. Let's hold this guy in jail. Let's find out what's going on with him. But guess what? They didn't even want to hold me in jail, right? The FBI and Secret Service didn't even want to interview me. So
Oh,
the
because
whole
I
thing,
got to wrap up now, and the buzzer's going
sure,
to go
sure.
off on me.
Yeah, sure.
With regards to the infamous incident at Coachella, that's what I'm going to call it. The incident at Coachella. Where are
Yeah.
you at? Are there charges pending? Are they going to swoop you and do the 6 a.m. perp walk? What's happening
I
with you?
mean, honestly, I have, from what I understand, with the FBI, Secret Service, Trump camp, nobody has any issues with me whatsoever. I have a lawsuit against Chad Bianco in Riverside. I had to file a pretty big lawsuit because the defamation he did. I mean, right now, if you search my name, all you get is controversy generated by Chad Bianco. So I actually filed $100 million lawsuit against Chad.
But and man, I know Connie's freaking out right now because I'm going above and beyond
Sure,
the
sure,
time
sure,
limit.
sure, sure.
But you're a patriot. I'm a patriot. Sounds like Sheriff Bianco's a patriot. He's running for governor of the state of California, and he's like one of the only men. You know how in the movie Highlander there can be only one, right?
Mhm.
He looks like the man that's going to grab the brass ring. Can't watch this. I'm gonna go Rodney King on you for a second. Can't we all just get along?
You remember when we first started talking, I was saying how like the corrupt blanket of like really scumbag people and the fact that they're running for office for all the wrong reasons. Well, look, Chad Bianco, a lot of people could say a lot of things, right? We've
Mm.
had politicians for our entire lifetimes tell us a lot of things, and then 8 years later, we're like, why didn't he do all that stuff that he promised? Chad Bianco's that guy. He's saying all the things you guys want to hear right now, but when you look at his history of how
Mm.
he's conducted business in Riverside, including this sloppy false accusation. And by the way, I'm victim number, I lost count how many people have had lawsuits against this guy because of his bad behavior. So now we're going to hand the entire California budget to a guy that can't even run Riverside County correctly. So just because he says he's a Republican, just because he tries to act a certain way, like of being MAGA and all that, it's like my bottom line with Chad Bianco is he's not what he says he is. He's certainly a liar. He's a sloppy individual. He doesn't run his sheriff's department well, and he shouldn't be running California. That's my bottom line.
I hear you. And watch this. We laid so much down in this show. I get
Yeah,
to reach back at something too. Remember how we both said, I'd rather be dead than to be a damn Democrat.
yeah,
Remember
yeah,
that part?
yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, if he's the only game in town, because we damn sure don't want another Democrat governor in the state of California. We don't want it. Can't have it. And he's the only game in town. What do we do? I
Well,
mean,
I see. I don't even look at him as a real game in town. Just because, you know what it is. Just because he says he's not a Democrat When you look at his history and everything that he's done in his history indicates that he's more of a leftist, more of a Democrat, including kneeling for BLM, including making a big deal out of it. I told you about my firearms, brother. You know, these firearms were not threatening firearms. Why did he go after?
Were they loaded?
Why did he go after a 2A guy the way he did? If he's that much of a constitutional guy, why does he defame a 2A guy and now make every legal law owner, a gun holder, lawful gun holder, now all of a sudden nervous that they're going to get called an assassin because they just happen to have guns in the back of their truck? You see what
I got lots of
it's like?
guns. So
Yeah.
let me watch this. I got to do this, and you would do the same thing. I have gone over because you are an engaging guest.
Thank you.
My man Vim Miller. Woo, you could actually do a 2 hour show with this guy.
Yeah.
So as we bring it to it, we could have done 2 hours easy. Done it like Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? He does 3, you know. But as we wrap up, how do people get in touch with you? And what's your parting words to the people? What do you want them to remember about this interview?
You know, one thing I would say is people need to do much deeper research than just listening to mainstream media about different political candidates. That's one thing that people blanket need to understand, because we've been fooled for too long by people with sugary words that don't practice what they preach. So that's my biggest thing for people. If people want to reach me, you can reach me at americahappens@protonmail.com, or simply go to americahappens.com, our website, our platform, our email address is right on the bottom. And definitely subscribe. We're always releasing great content about all the stuff that's happening in our country and our world, you know?
There it is. And I wish we could continue, but you know, hey, I don't have a big platform. I just got one. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up with my signature close. Hey, listen to me. There's no place I'd rather be. Nothing more I'd rather do than being right here doing this show for you. I'm Ken White with Vim Miller, and we are out.